Today we have a beautiful gospel. We have actually two beautiful gospels that coincide, work together. The first one in the Orthros was talking about Peter and Jesus having a conversation about love. Jesus asks him 3 times, Peter, do you love me? And says, yes, Lord, I love you. Peter, do you love me? It's like, your child is lying to you and you say, really? Did you do that? It's like, no, mommy, I didn't do it. Did you do that? And no, I didn't do it. And then at the end, when they realize you know, it's like, Mom, you know that, you know what I did, right? Jesus was asking the same way to Peter. Do you love me? Yes, I love you, Lord. Do you really love me, Peter? Yes, Lord, I love you. Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. In other words, you know how much I love you. Don't ask questions. I can tell you I love you from here to heaven, from the moon and back, right? But that's not probably true. You know how much I love you. I have talked here on the Agape Sunday about 4 loves. Have you read C.S. Lewis's 4 loves? He explains beautifully the 4 terms that the Greek language uses for love. I'm not going to go through all of them because today we just use 2 of them. Agapao, which means love in a heavenly way, in an abstract way, and philo, which means not philodo. Philo, I love you as a friend. So that's what the conflict between Jesus and Peter was. Because Jesus was telling him, using the word agapao, agapasmo, he says, do you love me? In an abstract, in a heavenly way. Because he knew that Peter is a Jew. That's how Jews loved God. They never met God. They never knew who God was. So they loved him in a philosophical way, which is a beautiful, brilliant way. But then, at the end, he uses the term philismo. Do you love me as your friend? What's the better one? All the Greeks will say, agapao is the best. No, agapao is not the best. Philo is the best. You cannot love, Christ said to God, unless you know how to love your neighbor. It starts from your brother, your friend. If you don't know how to practice the friend love, you cannot practice the agape love that is eternal, that is the heavenly. But we always strive and stretch out our hands, reach the skies, right? We're reaching for the stars. When there are beautiful diamonds here, we don't care about it. We reach for the stars. They are so beautiful up in the sky, we can't reach them. So that way, Christ brings Peter to the ground, to the earth. Love your neighbors, love your brothers, love your friends. That's where it starts. Second, I mentioned C.S. Lewis. In his interpretation of these words, love, he finds faults with all 3, except with philo. He says that's the perfect love. There are no conditions, there are no emotions, there is nothing involved with it. There is no abstractness about it. It's a love for a friend. You love them just because they're your friend. There's nothing else, because they are your friend. And Christ says no one has greater love than the one who lays down his life for his friend, for his brother. And that's what friendly love means. It means that you're ready to die for your friends. I asked the kids in the chapel, are you ready to die for your friends? The little kids, why would they die for their friends, right? And they came up with perfect answer, and they have been listening to me, I guess. I said to them, what is life? In America, we say time is money. No, time is your life. Time is your life. I asked the kids, and they were very honest. What do you do best with your life? We waste it best. Yes, we do waste it best. Time flies when we play video games, right? We're wasting it. And I used an example. I said, imagine you had a pure water faucet here, running pure water, and there were 100 people out there thirsty. And you're sitting next to it, and you're enjoying it. It's the voice, the chuckling of the water. And it goes into the sewage, right? And people are thirsty out there. And you, oh my gosh, it's so cold. You put your hand under it, right? Oh, beautiful, right? You just sprinkle around the house. People are starving out there, they're thirsty, and you're wasting your water. Christ uses water as a symbol of life as well. Your life is water. a pure, clean water that people are thirsting for. And that's what it means to lay down your life for others. It means to make your life available for others, to serve others, in other words. So in today's gospel, in the gospel we read here, Christ has a similar conversation with this old woman. Comes and says, my daughter is sick, have mercy on her. She is possessed by a demon. What does Jesus do? He ignores her first time. The disciples were surprised. Why did he ignore her? He never does this. But we remember that when Jairus came for his daughter, what did Jesus do? He took his time, sweet time. He was healing the woman with a blood flow and this and that. And then they came and said, Jairus' daughter died, don't worry about it. And Christ said, no, I'm worried about it. You shouldn't worry about it. I'm getting there. And he resurrected her. Same thing with Lazarus. He was chased away from Israel. He was hesitating, or the disciples were hesitating to go back to heal Lazarus or not. By the time they got back, Lazarus had been buried 4 days. And they were saying, well, Lord, if you were here, he wouldn't have died. And he said, no, don't worry about it. Just move the stone, and called him out of the tomb. He is the Lord of life and resurrection. They forgot, or they didn't know. So in today's gospel, he also says to this woman, it is not proper that I take the bread from the children and give it to the dogs. The children of Israel, the children of Jacob, these are God's children. God has already trained them. And he says, I've come for the lost sheep of Israel first, not for the outsiders, not for the pagans, who do not even have a concept of who I am, what God is. They have no idea. I can't waste time with them. And the woman approaches him the third time, like with Peter. Do you love me? Do you really love me? Do you love me, Peter? The same thing happens here in a negative way. And the woman says, Lord, it is right. You shouldn't waste your food that belongs to the children. But little dogs sit under the table and eat from the crumbs. We have a little dog, not a little, quite a big dog. We feed her, we have a heated house for her, we have everything. The minute we leave the door open, she runs to the neighbors. And the children said, the curiosity gets the best of her, right? We are the ones who feed her. When she gets curious, what's going on behind that big wall? So she goes under it and goes into the condominiums. And then we have to go bring her back. So Jesus was talking about a dog like that. Not like the one we have, that's domestic dog, she will come back. But at that time there were wild dogs out there wandering everywhere. And St. John Chrysostom says that these dogs were hovering around the butcheries. And they were waiting for butchers to throw a piece of meat to them, and they would catch it in the air and take off. And the butcher would never see them again. Or until they got hungry, they would come back. That's what Christ talks about. Don't waste the food. The butchers weren't giving the best food. They were giving the small pieces of bones or whatever to those dogs because they knew that they're not going to stay. So Jesus was talking about that kind of relationship, which is in fact a transactional relationship. We've talked about this in our stewardship ministry. Angela is there, she knows very well. What is transactional relationship? You give me one thing, I give you another. I have some friends, you can't do a favor to them. You do one favor to them, they will make sure they do two back to you. What is the relationship between a dog that is sitting under the table? This little dog is there no matter what. This is the love Jesus was talking about with Peter. A friend love. The friend is there. He's not there for transaction. He's there because he's your friend. That's all. You can't even explain it. And what do they say in our culture? Who is man's best friend? Dogs are the best friend. Who else? Horses, right? They will not let you go. They will be more loyal to you than anybody else in the world. If you have a horse, they will save your life, rescue you, lay down their life for you. If you have a dog that loves you, they'll die for you. So that's the kind of dog this woman reverses the conversation to and says, I am willing to enter into your house, even if you give me crumbs from your table. I'm not there for the food. I'm there for you. You don't visit your friend because they cook well, right? You visit them because you want to see them. You will walk with them miles and miles, hungry, if they needed you. So that's the kind of love that we Christians have for one another and for Christ. I said in my sermon in the bulletin, sometimes we think God is our personal assistant. When something goes wrong in the office, God, what had happened? Why did my printer is not working? It's like, okay, call the technician, right? Not bother God with the printer. Well, we can do that too if we're desperate, right? Because God will make miracles, will happen for us. God is not offended that we ask Him these little things. He is there for the little and for the big. And He said to us, if you are faithful with the little things, you will be also entrusted big things. So in our love, like we bother God with tiny little things, the printer, the tire on the car, whatever, we also need to be faithful to Him with little things like that. He doesn't want us to go to war for Him. He doesn't want us to climb the top of the mountain. He wants us on daily basis, like the little crumbs that He falls from His table for us, that on daily basis we give those little tiny things to Him back, now and forever, to the ages of ages. Amen. Thank you. God bless you.